On the pitch, it might seem like footballers live the ideal lives. They play their favorite sport and earn millions through it. Off the pitch, however, they have to deal with a lot of issues. Despite all the money and influence they have, some of these issues can also turn out to be scary. Hello, and welcome back to the channel. Today we will be discussing scary close calls in the lives of various football players. You must be wondering, what are these scary close calls? Well, stick around till the end to find out. Without further ado, let us begin. So, let us start things off with one of the greatest players of all time. Yes, you guessed it right, I am talking about Cristiano Ronaldo. Back in 2009, Ronaldo was one of the biggest stars in the footballing world. In fact, many would say he had just entered the prime of his career. He had just won the Champions League and was winning the Premier League for the third time in a row with Manchester United. But his biggest achievement was being awarded the Ballon d'Or, which is basically the highest individual trophy a player can get. So we can safely assume that CR7 was enjoying his life. Well, when people are enjoying themselves too much, they tend to make mistakes. And that is exactly what he did when he was involved in a car accident near Manchester Airport in England. However, there isn't extensive public information available about the incident. As with big stars, they try to limit any bad publicity that might affect the legacy of these celebrities. We only know that Ronaldo's Ferrari collided with a roadside barrier, and according to various reports, things could have gone bad, but fortunately, the future Euro Cup winner escaped the accident with only minor injuries. Imagine the greatness we would have missed if, God forbid, something would have happened to our hero. A very scary close call indeed. Next up, we have a scary robbery that really left the player in question traumatized. I am talking about the former Tottenham star Dele Alli. Back in 2020, Alli was the target of an attempted robbery. While this occurred a lot of times for footballers, this time Alli was physically beaten. It all started when two men broke into Alli's residence when he was home in the wee hours of the morning. Alli was held at knife point as his jewelry and watches were stolen. While it is true that they left without doing any major harm, they did beat him up by punching him. The player was really shaken up, but thankfully wasn't that injured and did not need medical attention. That sure was a close call now, wasn't it? Things could have gone really bad. Our next scary close call is a rather sad one. Remember the Chapecoense football team plane crash? It really was a dark day for football. While it is true it wasn't a close call as it had devastating consequences, it sure was for two lucky players. I am talking about Alan Russell and NATO, who survived the deadly crash with limited injuries. Let me explain. It all started when the Brazilian football team Chapecoense crashed in 2016 on their way to the Copa Sudamerica final in Colombia because they ran out of petrol. It was really sad since the crash could have been avoided. Around 70 people died, including 90% of the traveling squad and the staff with them. However, there were survivors. Alan Russell, a defender on the squad, was one of the lucky few who made it out of the wreckage alive despite suffering severe spinal damage. NATO also survived despite the many injuries he sustained. While it is true that it was a sad day for both of them to see their teammates die, they really had a scary close call. Both of them went on to recover completely and play football. Russell continues to play to this day. However, NATO hung up his boots in 2019 saying, "The pain outweighed the pleasure." Sad, isn't it? Our next close call involves Manchester City's Joao Cancelo. The Portuguese has established himself as the starting left back since joining the club. Forget starting, he was considered the best left back in the world. But all that changed in February when the player was hurt during a robbery attempt. It was just Christmas. Everyone was enjoying the festive period, taking in the Christmas happiness, and celebrating with their families. But this happy celebration wasn't for Cancelo and his family, who were at home when burglars broke in and demanded money, jewelry, and other valuables. That is okay, as this is quite common. But the real tragedy struck when the burglars started beating Cancelo. He even posted an image of his bruised face online and said that the incident had a traumatic effect on his family. But Cancelo took the whole incident pretty well and claimed that his horrific experience had ultimately shaped him into a mentally tough player. But in all honesty, that experience must have played a part in him leaving Manchester City's first team and playing elsewhere. He spent the last season on loan for Bayern Munich and looks set to leave the city this season. Goes on to show how such incidents can affect a player. Next up, we have perhaps one of the most prominent players in Arsenal's history, but all for the wrong reasons. Yes, you guessed it right. I am talking about Nicklas Bendtner. The Danish forward suffered minor injuries in a 2009 crash. It all started when the 21-year-old's car went off the A1 as he was headed in the direction of South Mimms. Thankfully, he came out of the crash with minor injuries, but his Aston Martin fared much worse in the crash. Must have cost him thousands of dollars if you ask me. But that isn't the worst outcome of the whole thing. Due to his minor injuries, he missed the Gunners' UEFA Champions League match. Imagine missing a Champions League game. But look on the bright side. He at least came out with limited injuries. Things could have been so much worse. You never know with car crashes. Anything could have happened. I guess Arsenal has a thing with scary close calls because this next one involves two more Arsenal players. I am talking about Sead Kolasinac and Mesut Ozil. The two had a terrifying experience, which also involved Kolasinac battling off burglars. It all started when both of them were in their parked car when they were approached by two men armed with knives. Kolasinac was standing beside the car, while Ozil was seated inside it. The armed men first tried to scare off the two, but Kolasinac held his ground. When he saw the situation could get worse, the Bosnian leapt in front of Ozil and fought off the robbers in an act of extraordinary bravery. Even without weapons, the defender successfully thwarted the attackers. When he saw that the robbers were afraid, Ozil immediately notified a nearby Turkish restaurant worker, who rushed to Kolasinac's aid. While it was an amazing act of bravery on Kolasinac's part, things could have gone sideways very easily. Someone could have been stabbed. It was a really scary close call if you ask me. In the end, I would just like to say that despite the fact that these footballers have attained so much fame and earned so much money, you never know what could happen in their lives. Goes on to show how life is so unpredictable, and anything could happen at any time, regardless of the situation you are in. Sure, you should try to adopt certain things like added security measures, for example, which would minimize the chances of you becoming a victim like the various incidents mentioned in this video. However, you can't control anything. Life is very unpredictable. So enjoy your life while you're at it. Who knows what might happen tomorrow? Cheers! That is a wrap, folks. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a new video from us. If you did enjoy the video, give it a like and leave a comment. See you in the next one.